Swim check 1, 2. Bike check 1, 2. Run check 1, 2. I think we're ready. Let's try this. Welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast, a podcast where we explore the sport of triathlon from a variety of perspectives to help beginner triathletes on their journey. I am your host, Mashonda Shines. All right, y'all, welcome back to Try Beginner's Luck. We got a new episode today, and I get to bring someone to the podcast who's an actual listener, like real listener. Not that there's not real listeners, but you know what I mean. How I found out this person was a listener is I was on the streets at Lake Placid, and we had this moment where she's like, wait a minute, are you Mashonda? Mashonda from Try Beginner's Luck? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, are you Maria? Maria from Varlo? Like the model? Yeah. So we had a fangirl moment. It was beautiful. It was authentic, but it was just what moments are made for when you need that little bit of oomph to keep going, because it's about the power of a one. And at this stage, when, she was telling me how she listened on her training rides, I was like, for real? Like, really? Oh my gosh, I felt so honored. And we were able to talk. And from that moment, we have been IG friends. And now she's a friend to you all. Let me give you a little bit of background about Maria, because she's not only a triathlete or the face of Varlo, but she's really about community. She loves the tri space probably just as much as I do. And that's a lot. But Maria is the vice president of the T3 Philly team. If you've seen them at races, they are large and in charge, okay? But she's also a part of the Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia, and they do a lot of great work. And she's been on panels talking about DEIA and multisport, doing an intro into multisport panel with the Philly Bike Expo, which is a big brand where you can go there to find all types of bike-ish stuff. Maria, welcome to Try Beginner's Luck. Maria Paredes Fernandez. Welcome.
Ms. Shonda, thank you. Thank you so much. It really is such an honor to be featured on the podcast after getting to listen to it since last year on my training rides. To be on here to talk to you is just really special. So thank you.
Well, I am equally honored. So I appreciate just your candidness and your boldness, but most importantly, your fierceness. Now let's talk about this Varlo situation, because what is this? Huh? Okay. I absolutely love that you are the face of Varlo, or one of the faces of Varlo. How did that come about?
Sure. So I know it's kind of hard to believe whenever people have asked me this, but it really was just kind of like a cold call, like very sudden. I mean, it wasn't completely serendipitous. I had heard about Varlo, and they just started their company, and they were looking for brand ambassadors. And now, typically, that's not something that I would do. I'm even now, I'm not a brand ambassador to anything except for Varlo. But there was just something about Varlo that really caught my eye, even in its infancy. And I think it was just, it wasn't even just like the clothing, but it just felt like there was something more behind it, that there was a bigger goal, a bigger mission. And I also really appreciated that it was local. And some of my other friends were also affiliated with it too. My good friends, Lika Paris and now Ed Cheng, who's COO. So I'm like, I'll sign up for this. Got a couple of, got a hoodie, I'd gotten a water bottle. And then I just get this message, text message. It was I believe right after I'd completed Ironman Maryland, and it was from Saj. And he was like, hey, congratulations on completing Ironman Maryland. Would you be interested in, filming a commercial and maybe doing a photo shoot? And I was like, what? Like, so I honestly thought I was being it was a prank or something like that, but it turned out that it was very legitimate. We talked on the phone, and I just felt so at ease with him. And again, it's not something that I would typically do. I've always been very, I don't know, I guess not to put yourself in like a box or something, but like, I just never really considered myself like that. I was always very like, and still am very like academic and, not, I don't know. Not to say that you can't be an academic and also do photo shoots and things like that, but I just didn't see myself that way. And so just to know that I felt so comfortable with Saj, and I just really enjoyed it. It's just been a wonderful process. And so from this one thing, it turned out to be multiple things, and it's just a fun way to kind of harness like the confidence that I feel whenever I wear their products. I'm not getting paid by saying this, I swear, but like I really do. I genuinely do. I tap into something, I guess inside the whole look good, feel good kind of mentality. And that's just kind of what takes over during those photo shoots. So yeah, and then there's the other aspect of it too, where it's like, this is me celebrating what I look like at my best, at my athletic best. And so it's going to be fun to see when I'm like 100 years old and looking back and being like, yeah, I used to look like this.
And I'm sure at 100 years old, you'll still be like, yeah, I'm doing it. I just had an interview with Sister Madonna, and it was very interesting talking to her because she's 92 and a half. And so the conversation flow was a little bit different, but she was just like, she's still who she is and still doing it. So I believe you'll be along those lines of still doing it, looking at me like, look, kids, I'm doing good. Like, having that confidence. But no, I totally see what you're saying when you talk, because like, speaking to you now and then looking at your pictures, it's like, I'm Maria. You better put some respect on this. And it's so really good because we do, when we look good, we do feel good. And I'm glad that you're saying that when you put on the Varlo apparel, that gives you that boast of confidence, because as athletes who have to wear spandex, you want to look good and feel good and be confident. So I totally dig that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I'm just so thankful to continue to represent a brand that really means a lot to me. And through this brand, it's just opened so many doors, and I've got to meet so many wonderful, wonderful people.
Absolutely. And I can just imagine Saj giving you a call because he's so calm. And he's like, Maria, just want to check in with you to see. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not doing a good Saj. But I've gotten one of those cryptic calls, and I'm like, yeah, sure. Absolutely. Who can say no to Saj? I don't think anyone can. Like, it's really hard because he's such a nice guy. And I really love what they're doing just with the team and how they're being inclusive and
Yes.
diverse. And I want to talk to you about that because you've done some speaking with the Bicycle Coalition and with, I just mentioned it a few seconds ago, the Philly Bike Expo with diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. And what does that look like? And so talk to me about what it means for you to be with, talk to me about what does it look like for you to have this space to be more diverse?
Sure. So I think about a couple of quotes. I always joke that I don't really have original thoughts, that I just pull from other people. And two quotes come to mind. The first is that there are different kinds of perceiving lead to different kinds of knowing and understanding. So pretty much like the way that I interpret that is through sharing your story, even though we're doing the same thing, we're all competing in triathlon, like the way that we come about it, the way that we see it, the way that we experience it is different. And so if you only surface just a couple of stories, the issue is that you just believe that that's the only story, which brings me to my second favorite quote, which comes from a TED Talk from this Nigerian writer, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, where she talks about the danger of the single story, the story of a group or an individual. If there's only one version and you tell that one version repeatedly, you risk creating misunderstandings. And so it robs us of our humanity, is how she puts it. It really emphasizes how we're different instead of the same. And I think that if we have the opportunity to tell different stories, to share our different perspectives, it just leads to this bigger knowledge of the sport. So to kind of go back to your question, it's like a long-winded way to answer the question. I come from a working class background. My parents are immigrants to the United States, from Latin America, my mother from Ecuador, my father from Argentina. And they, I had a great childhood outside of Philadelphia in Delaware County, but they had a very limited way of kind of viewing and seeing the world, and particularly when it comes to sport. They thought that the way for me to excel in life was through academics, and so that was pushed for me. In consequence, I didn't really get to explore that side as a youth. I just remember going down when we would go into the city. Kelly Drive is this big stretch that's right by the Schuylkill River. I can see that you're nodding, Mishanda. You've seen that before.
I've ridden it before.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, it's just such a delightful space. And I just would look out the window and being like, oh, I'd love to be one of those people. But for my parents, it was like, oh, well, we don't have the time because they were working so much, or they just, to be able to have the time to devote to that, it was a luxury. It was seen as something luxurious, and it was seen as something that only a particular group of people could do, a particular social class of people could undertake. And so to see, another person like myself, like first generation, low income person, to be able to do these things. And I don't have a background in swimming or much of an athletic background. I knew I loved running, but I didn't get to pursue that until afterwards. So I just think it's just so important for to highlight the stories of people that, yes, that they were athletic geniuses that been swimming since they were 2. I mean, that's amazing. It's also great too, to highlight the stories of people that come into the sport a little bit later in life, come into the sporting world a little bit later in life, that maybe had some money issues, but then find a way to enter the sport. I like going and attending these talks. I like presenting at these talks to kind of, again, show that there's another perspective into this, that there's another story to tell. And as you had talked about earlier, Mishanda, the power of one, like, even if I'm able to touch one person afterwards and if they were on the fence about it, maybe that was the push they needed.
Yes, I couldn't agree more with everything that you've said, Maria, but you just said it so eloquently. And, it speaks to you being a doctoral student, right? Like, you pulled in these great quotes that I need to get. Like, I'm going to get them from you. But not just these great quotes that show the power of being multidimensional in your storytelling. And the more that you are multi-layered, multidimensional, and diverse in your storytelling, the more exposure it lends itself. And so I could not agree with you more about the power of sharing your story. And thank you for, being on these panels, because sometimes people are even scared to talk about it because they're afraid they're going to say something that may not be quite right, or they may not get a word right, or be able to share their thoughts in a way that can connect. But sometimes it's just about getting on there and even making the mistakes, because we don't know everything. We just don't know everything, but we do know our story, and we know how it is for us coming into sport. And so, coming from a background as diverse as yours, as is mine, it does look different for us. And so, hearing more people share their stories can only generate more interest, because they're like, wait, those are two brown girls. Wait, they they do this? Well, maybe we can too. And so I just love that. And it didn't matter about um I understand your parents wanting you to focus on education, because what? They've come here and they've seen the struggle, right? So they don't want you to throw your life away to something that may not get a return on their investment. So I totally get that, but I'm also glad that you were able to explore and be able to get out. So what was the segue for you? Like, how did you segue? I think you mentioned it a little bit when that was running, but let's talk about how you even got into sport.
Yeah. So I did get to do track when I was in middle school. That happened to work out really well, and I absolutely loved track. And unfortunately, like I said, I couldn't continue on into high school. But then when I went to Penn State for my bachelor's degree, that was an opportunity there. I had met this girl whenever I was rushing a sorority. She ended up not committing to one, but I saw her stretching with another group of ladies, and I was like, oh, like what are you doing? She's like, oh, this is Penn State Club Cross Country, like, come join us. And so the very next day, I went and met up with them, and that was my first like real experience as I guess an adult into sport and what it could do. It was just the highlight of my college, one of the biggest highlights of my college career, getting to run with these ladies. We would integrate as well with the men's team. It was a club team, so it was something that we did for fun, but we were still serious about it. And it was a nice balance that I really enjoyed. And it was through my time there and, my commitment to the group. Then in the last year, I was elected workout chair. So I was really excited about that and planning the workouts for the group, figuring out what our strengths were. Somebody from the Bicycle Coalition, Michelle Lee, always says, to race your strengths and train your weaknesses. And so kind of taking note of the weaknesses that we had and just working on those, but also really celebrating our strengths. And if there was somebody that was particularly good at like hills, for example, to kind of coach the other people that were there, or like just taking the best out of what we had. So it wasn't like I, put together all the workouts or anything like that. It was a lot of input and a lot of buy-in from the group. And that's how we were able to have a particularly great season whenever I was workout chair. I think we placed like either first or second, I don't remember now, in the NIRCA championships. And then that particular year, Thon, Penn State Dance Marathon, which benefits children with pediatric cancer, the Four Diamonds Fund, they have the largest student run philanthropy in the world. It's 46. Now it's 46 hours of no sleeping or sitting, but at the time it was 48. And because of the commitment that I had with the group, I was elected to represent them as a dancer. And that to me was just like, oh my gosh, like in my little world, that was just a highlight, an absolute highlight. And I was extremely honored to do that. So yeah, and it's just a high that I've been chasing, not the dancing, yeah, I guess, but like the group dynamic was a high that I had been chasing after college, because it was just so much more. It wasn't just the running. It was like just the conversations that we would have, the connections that we would make, the things that I would learn, kind of like this was pre-Reddit. So like, you know, whatever there was a way to like learn about like classes or like other people's experiences or how to take out loans or like, hey, I need a ride to, you know, the supermarket. Can you help me? Like all of these connections just kind of started happening. And so there's just so much more than just the team and like the sport. It goes, it's just so much bigger than that. And your own development as a person as well. And just being able to thrive and being able to be happy. And yeah, like I said, that's just kind of like the high that I chase. And I try to do it in my own spare time as an athlete, but also something that I'm interested in studying as a researcher.
Yeah, that was such a turning point for you, Maria. Like, I'm sitting up here like, I don't even know where to go from there. Like, there were so many different points in which you exploring that for yourself unlocked something in you. It unlocked
Definitely.
more. It's like it unlocked a curiosity for more. And that curiosity has now unlocked just different components of community for you that would not have been necessarily available had you not been curious enough to let these girls are over here stretching. Let me go over here and see what they're doing. And I think that's just powerful. And for those who are listening, and I want to paint this picture, it's like, be curious, because you just never know. And even if you don't know all that you need to know, just jump in and get started. I mean, unlike me, I'm not a researcher when it comes to just doing things. I'm a researcher when it comes to big things, but like athletic stuff, it's just like, okay, let me just try it and see. And then I find out going back and doing the research, and that helps me out because clearly it allowed me to know that, okay, I love this. Okay, now I want to do more research. But I just jumped into this sport, right? Just jumped in. And it sounds like that's kind of like what you did. You just jumped in, and it's like, oh, I'm good at this. Now I get to plan the workouts. Now I get to do this. So I absolutely love that. I love it. You don't always have to plan. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just jump in. Be
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, no, thanks, Mashonda. And that's we talked a little bit earlier about sometimes learning by doing and just going in and doing it. And the analogy of you can, and which is ironic because I actually do not drive, but to read the manual about driving and know about it in theory versus going out and driving yourself. You could read the manual as much as you want, but you won't really know until you drive. And sometimes it's works the same way too with the sport. You won't know unless you kind of do it, and it's trial and error. There are some things that could be avoided, and you know, you could talk to people. But you know, it's you pick your own adventure. You can mix and match and do a little bit of everything. Explore yourself. You know, you'll find out if the stove is hot or not. And you know, researching bikes and seeing, you know, which is the best one for you.
Like that. Mix and match. Explore. You never know. I like that. Makes me feel better about my experience of just, hey, jump in and I'm like, oh, so what should I need? I need a 56 bike, not a 54. Oh, for real? Yeah. Listen, I've been there, I've done that. That's why you should listen so you don't make those same mistakes. And some people may not be readers. They may not want to sit up here and read a bunch of stuff. They may just want to listen. So here we are for you. So, Maria, cross country, you did it. How did you get your way into multisport? Because you said you didn't grow up a swimmer, you didn't own a bike, but you could run. So take us into that lane.
So, Michonne, it's so interesting because if you would have asked me in college, like, hey, Maria, you're going to be swimming and biking too, I would have laughed in your face because I just absolutely loved running. And it's not like I'm particularly amazing at it or anything like that, but I just genuinely just love, just being with my thoughts or being with other people and kind of seeing the world, but through that way. But it was in 2018 along that Schuylkill River Trail where I happened to trip on a rock and fall. So it's not even like that great of a story. It's a pretty silly story. I should embellish and lie and just say I was trying to rescue a cat or something from a tree. I think that would be better. So I guess for the record, yes, I was trying to rescue a cat from a tree and I fell off the tree and broke my foot. And so
Oh, that's for real.
No. I'm gonna start telling that story now.
Oh, because I am
interesting.
so gullible. I'm like, for real? Oh gosh, girl, you had me fooled. Okay.
No, it's the very boring. I tripped over a rock and fell. Broke my foot. I had a Jones fracture on my left foot, so it was like the pinky, below the pinky where the crack was. And so I hadn't broken a bone before that. So just to rehab the foot, I was told that I could swim and that I could stationary bike. And I'm like, you know what? That's like 2/3 of a triathlon. I might as well sign up for one. And the learning by doing, Mishonda, comes in because I was like, like I've never done a triathlon before, but you know what? Let's do Eagleman. Let's do a half Ironman.
So wait, okay, not to stop your story, but you're rehabbing and you just sign up for Eagleman.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm here for this. Mm-hmm.
So learning by doing, I'm like, let's just jump in, let's do this. And it wasn't until I had two friends. One of them is actually on Team Varlo. Leah Bellardo was like, maybe you should do a triathlon before you do this big event. And, just as like a tune-up. So
Thank you, Leo. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So I took her advice and signed up for a local race, Hamilton Triathlon in New Jersey. And Leah was so kind, again, just the kindness of the community, took me in, took my other friend, Becca Schofield as well, and was like showing us how to do transitions and like what we needed to do. So I didn't go in completely blind, but it is a very different thing, kind of going back to the analogy with the car, somebody explaining what to do and showing you what to do versus the actual race day where like, you're nervous as it is, like, it's like super hot, but like, the water was like super cold. It was my first open water swim, first race on a bike, first transitions, and like, oh my goodness, there was so much to take in that day. But it was a great experience.
A whole lot of first. So we got to unpack that. Your first open water swim, your first race on a bike. Like, okay, tell us about that first race.
So so this was Hamilton. It was a sprint. So and the lake was particularly cold. I remember just going, and there was cedar in the water, so you couldn't even really see around you, which was so different than the pool. And I just panicked because the water was so cold. I did have a wetsuit and I had borrowed one, but it was too big for me. So that was the other thing. Make sure your wetsuit, if you borrow a wetsuit, I mean, I guess having one is better than not having one at all, but it just filled up with water, and I think it was like sinking me instead of helping me. So Yeah, and just how cold it was, just like it took my breath away. And
Wow.
I'm like, how am I gonna make it through the swim? Somehow, I don't know how I like doggy paddled. Like everything that I did in the pool was like completely and just gone. Like I was in survival mode. So I'm pretty sure I was like the second to last person to come out of the water that day, but I felt so triumphant. Like it was like, yes, I conquered the water. It didn't conquer me. And
Absolutely. I'm just still back at the too big wetsuit and it filling up with water because I can see that just filling up with water, making it a lot heavier. Oh, okay. So tell us about this bike because that had to be, I'm interested to see what that was like for you.
So something else that I had learned afterwards was you want to change your gear and not your effort. And so I learned that the hard way, again, learning by doing. And it stuck with me because I go out with my little road bike and I'm, pedaling away. And I just had it on too high of a gear and I was just doing so much work. And I was like, everybody, I mean, like, again, I'm the second to the last person out of the water. Everyone's like way ahead. And I like want to try to do well in this triathlon. Um, but yeah, I was just mashing and mashing and mashing away. And in retrospect, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you know, you want to keep a light cadence, like what is it, like 85, 95 RPMs.
Mhm.
And again, changing the effort. And luckily it was flat, but like there were a couple of little hills. And if you're all the way in like, your hardest and you're trying to go over these hills, I didn't know to shift down. And so it it was probably a speed bump, but it felt like Everest, like at the time.
That's what I feel like with Strawberry Hill, Strawberry Mansion. Um, I have a very similar experience of just not knowing how to shift down, and which is why now when I'm sharing with other beginners or teaching a spin class for triathletes, it's like, hey, it's all about your cadence and spinning faster and not harder. But sometimes people it doesn't translate until they actually have that experience. Keep going, girlfriend. Keep going.
Exactly.
Ooh, I can just imagine your legs at this point.
Yeah, I honestly, it was like my arms were pretty wiped out, my legs were pretty wiped out. Um, and I'm trying to remember what else about that experience. I mean, I like didn't really know how to drink water either. I that was something else that I didn't really kind of master until the end of the summer. And it was because I made it a point to practice that. But in my mind, I was like, at the time, I was like, oh, it's like a 10-mile bike ride. Like, I'll be okay. And I didn't have any water. And so I was like dying while I was mashing
Wow.
away.
Wow.
So, so please make sure that you drink water.
Okay, so not only were you like putting out a lot of effort, but you also couldn't drink water. So were you didn't know how to like get it from the the bracket up? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's a big thing. Practice, y'all. That is a good thing. I don't know if we've ever had anyone talk about how they couldn't do uh um practice getting their water bottle up. That is worth practicing, even if you're on a stationary bike. So that's how I learned. I learned on my trainer by just picking it up from the what is it called? The bottle cages. And then when I was able to do it outside, it was like effortless. But I couldn't either at first learn how to drink. It was like I had to slow down and stop, drink, and you don't have that time during a race.
yes,
So
yes.
practice getting your water or your hydration, or if you have some people, if there's their first time, they have a camelback or some type of water nutrition system on their backs. Get through it, but make sure you are hydrating at the same time because that's going to set you up for your run.
Exactly.
Everything you take in on the bike sets you up for your run. Okay.
And actually, I'm glad that you brought that up, Mishanda, about the hydration system, because in lieu of what happened at Hamilton, whenever I did Eagleman, I did bring a hydration pack, and that was a lifesaver. Um, so I can't even imagine what my strategy was, had I not done this race beforehand. So again, thank you, Leah, for convincing me to do that race.
Friends who are wise, we are here for it. Thank you, Leah. Because otherwise, Eagleman could have been a whole different, I think more probably catastrophic, because it's a longer race. It was your first, and you could have walked away hating triathlon.
Yes, definitely. So, yeah, so no shame. I mean, I had my little hydration pack. I think I was one of the few people in Eagleman that had the little hydration pack, but for your first one, you just want to finish. So, and until you figure out like how to, do your hydration with the bottle. I mean, even after if you can pick the bottle out of your bottle cages, just knowing that you have enough nutrition. So if you have to use a Camelback, I think that's perfectly okay.
All right. So let's talk about Eagleman, because that's the race that you were going to do before Leah so graciously was like, hey, friend, slow up. Let's do this sprint. So tell us about Eagleman, because that was your planned first race that you wanted to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, that was my planned first race. So I was incredibly anxious for the swim after my performance at Hamilton. So, and I looked at the Choptank River and saw whitecaps, and I was like, wow, how is this going to happen? Lucky for me, and I know most triathletes would have been upset, the swim was canceled. This was in 2019. And so we just had to focus on the bike and the run. And because of that, I'm just so thankful that happened, because I'm pretty sure I would have hated triathlon had I had to swim in the Choptank. I mean, there's no jellyfish in June, but
Thank
I
God
was
for that.
at least one of those races doesn't have jellyfish. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I got the bug afterwards. Like after that race, I was like, okay, like if anything, it was like, okay, I have to redo Eagleman with the swim. But yeah, I was like grossly underprepared for that part of it. But the bike, because I had a hydration system that really helped. So whenever I had to do the run, it wasn't that bad. It can be pretty hot, and there's no shade there really, but it was very manageable. And yeah, like I said, I got hooked, and I was like, all right, sign me up for Maryland next year.
There it is. I love it. I love it. I love it. So have you decided for yourself what your preferred distance is? Because we all have a distance that we love. So what is the distance that you absolutely love, and it just allows you to just go out and be you?
I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I would say the full Ironman distance. And I think it's just because I have that much time for myself. Um, and I, I just have more time to enjoy it until
Mm.
I don't enjoy it. But um, yeah, I think like a sprint is it's just too quick. An Olympic is still like I'm still at threshold, I guess. Um, I guess I don't know. Just the full. It's just like it's a whole day, so it's like you're not pushing yourself too hard, and I like that.
I like how you put that. I think, if you've been listening for a while, we know that there's different levels to triathlon, whether you do a sprint, Olympic, half distance, or full. But you're right about the effort. Going back to your statement about change your gear, not your effort. And so when you are doing a sprint, it's all out. You are hitting your anaerobic threshold marks. Like you're going all out with leaving no gas in the tank essentially at the end. And the Olympic, you're still pretty much close to that threshold. And then from each distance from there, you get to kind of go down up to about, for the full distance, you're in that zone 2, that cruising zone 2, low zone 3 mixture. And you will find out quickly what your distance is. So pay attention to how you feel when you've done each of them. And that will be your key, and the training, because the training is also equally different. And so whenever you're training, guys, just think about how you're feeling during that training. And if you like those short bursts of workouts, shorter races are for you. But if you just like to go, think, process, ride for hours, the longer distances are for you, to just be with yourself. But I think what are some of the things you think about? Because I know some people like, that's my therapy. People who like long distances, they use that as like a therapy session for themselves to work out their problems. Is that something that you do, or do you, just tell us what you talk about, or to yourself, because you spend a lot of time with yourself when you do long distances. So take us through that.
I think that goes back to just not to be a broken disc, but the importance of community. I think one of the reasons that I also really enjoy the longer distance is because it's a longer training cycle. It's like 6, 8 months, and I'm doing it with other people. And so we make it into kind of like an adventure. Like, okay, what pastry shop are we going to bike to, like, the
Mhm.
Saturday? So I'm very pastry motivated, but like find that thing that like, or a location that you haven't been to before. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about cycling, just that opportunity to go to places that you wouldn't normally think to go to, like biking all the way to Atlantic City, for example. Like it just feels so far, but then you do it and you're like, oh wow, that wasn't so bad. And then if you're doing it with other people, that's really great too, because you get to share those experiences with somebody else. And so, yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons why I enjoy training for longer distances, the bike rides, running through T3 Philly. I started running with the South Philly Striders. My friend John Encarnacion said, like, if you don't want to run by yourself doing these long runs, we have a group on Sundays. And so we've made it into something really fun where we'll sometimes have like movie club where we were watching the John Wick movies, and like in our runs we would talk about it, like kind of like a book club. Um,
Oh.
so just looking so again, not to be cliche, but sometimes it's the journey, not the destination. And when you're getting to do things like in a group, it just breaks up the monotony, and you can talk about or do other things. And then with swimming as well, I swim with Philly Fins, which is uh, LGBTQ swim team in Philadelphia. And just to be able to, like, even if it's like a second or two to like shave off, but like it's like my people that I share the lane with, like they're just as excited as I am about that. So it does take a lot to put yourself out there, to go into these groups, and like you don't know what the dynamic is going to be. And I've been in groups where like the dynamic wasn't there. Like I felt like I crashed a party that had already started. But put yourself out there, because life is hard enough as it is. You don't have to do it alone. You know, even people that claim to be, self-made, they have somebody that kind of went in and helped them a little bit. So put yourself out there. You don't have to struggle alone. Be successful with other people, is what I have to say.
You know how I feel about that, Maria, right? You know, I am just like, yes, yes, and yes. Try with others. It is the best way. Although it is an individual sport, those long rides with other people, whether you're at different paces or not, it's just knowing that someone else is out there with you makes it that much better. But let's talk about this. So y'all guys watching John Wick movies, and then y'all talk about them. Like, can I get in on this?
Of course.
I want to get it on these bike rides. On Zoom.
Yes, 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 yes. All are welcome. All are welcome to.
That
And
could, so y'all just
be a
watching the
thing.
movie. It could be a whole thing.
Yeah,
I think we should make it a thing.
I think so too.
It's giving me ideas on ideas. Oh my gosh. Okay. Focus, Mashonda, focus. But that's actually pretty dope. You guys watch a movie and then on the run, you talk about it. Like, because training rides can be so mundane. I save most of my TV shows for my trainer rides, especially when you're going to be out there for 3 or 4 hours on your trainer. You want to be able to have movies or shows or binge watch. Let's talk more about that because I'm sure you guys are going to be having some movie days coming up. Maybe not that the weather is getting really nice outside, but let's talk more about that. What's on the docket for you for this year?
For movies,
Well, not movies. You're right. I should have clarified that. hmm What I should have said was what's on the agenda for you racing this year. I had switched gears in my brain, but didn't really articulate that.
oh, that's okay. You,
Ah,
you just you were in the sprint triathlon zone, I
I was
guess.
in the sprint triathlons. I was trying to get us to this finish line because we got to end.
Um, so Lake Placid is the big race. So I'm going back. And I'm doing Tremblant the month before the 70.3 and Happy Valley the week after as a relay. So 2 races in June and the big one in July.
I love. So with Happy Valley, is that where Penn State is?
Yes.
I was thinking, I was like, I was going to ask you if you were doing Happy Valley because you went to Penn State, but I love that. So, what leg of the distance are you going to do for Happy? Well, I know, but what leg of the distance are you going to do? Let me see if I was right in my mind.
Bike.
Yeah, I figured. Because why not get all that good hills training in? Because I hear that the elevation is nice and it's a nice hilly ride for Happy Valley. That's going to be nice. And then Mont Tremblant and then Lake Placid. And Lake Placid has a new title sponsor.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's the Athletic Brewing, Lake
Oh, that's
Placid. It
wonderful. Oh,
is. I'm really excited about it. So I'm really excited for them and it to be so close to their headquarters out in Connecticut. So that's kind of dope. That's kind of dope. So I
yeah.
love. All right. So we got 3 races we get to cheer you on for. So that means we got some maybe some long rides on the trainer coming up.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Many long
Okay.
rides. So
And
there'll be lots of try beginner's luck and
okay,
until the weather
okay.
gets nice and warm and then pastry rides.
Pastry rides. I thank you in advance for my invitation. I will make sure I
Yes.
take a picture for you all to see when it actually happens so you can know that Maria kept her word of including me on the movie rides. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So Maria, you've given us so much good advice. How do you balance because you're getting your doctorate? How do you balance training and getting your doctorate? Because I have friends who they are like, it's hard for them. So, what is your balance and how do you balance being in school and perhaps working and training?
um, I guess that whole adage of if you want something done, give it to a busy person applies. I think when you have such a tight schedule with all of these different aspects, you're more likely to be organized and you're more likely to get things done. And so personally, the morning time is the time when I get to work out, as well as the evenings. And then any time in between, well, sometimes there was a really rough period where I had a deadline and I only would sleep 4 hours in a night. I would sleep from 9 to 2, and then I would write from 2 to like 5. And after that, I would train and work, and because I also am a ESL instructor, and that was rough. but I knew it was short, like, and then there was a light at the end of the tunnel. But it was like kind of like triathlon, just one buoy at a time, you know, 1 mile marker at a time, and not to think too far ahead, but just be kind of being present in the moment.
Oh, I was sitting here thinking like, 2 to 3, you're doing this, and then 3 to 5, you're doing this. When were you sleeping? And then teaching. Oh my gosh. And kids, what age group do you teach?
Well, I teach adults, so
Oh,
but they feel like kids sometimes.
so I thought when you said ESL, which could be right, I'm not having a moment here, but they have ESL in elementary schools, right?
Yes,
Okay,
and
okay.
K through 12, and then I work at Penn, and I work with undergraduate and graduate students, international undergraduate and graduate
Ah,
students, that want to work on their English skills. So
love it. Love it. I'm here for it. I love it. Maria, thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for, just your perspective and vantage point on why multisport or triathlon is so important and for what you're doing in the community and for being so community focused. Like there's a lot of people who are doing this and they do it for a variety of reasons, but you embody the tri space of bringing in community and doing things with others. So I appreciate that. And I thank you for including me in your long rides and us having movie day. And then we
yes.
can just call each other and talk about it because I'm not coming up to Philly to run with you, but we can figure that all out later. We can figure that out all later. Well, you know what time it is, right?
Um, really fast fire questions.
That's close. Rapid fire. Yes.
Rapid
All in the
fire.
same. All in the same. Yes. So, getting to ask you some rapid fire questions is going to be good because I got to think outside the box because you've heard quite a few of them. Hmm. Gotta think. Let's see.
I can help you. Favorite food, cheese.
This is not your rapid fire.
That's what happens when you have a fan
But
on
that's
your
good
podcast.
though. I know. That's good. So cheese. Okay, so this is a new one that I got from Colleen Quigley. What type of potato are you?
Mashed. Love
Tell
mashed
me
potatoes.
more. Tell me why you're a mashed potato.
Whenever somebody else, I guess I should throw in the acknowledgments, is my partner, Steven. We've been married. We're going to be married for 7 years this year. But we had a mashed potato bar at our wedding, and I was very insistent on having this mashed potato bar because you can do so much with it. You can put so many toppings. There's so many different kind of potatoes that you can mash. In fact, I was in New York City this past weekend to do the New York City half. And we went to Brooklyn afterwards. This place called Frankie's 457 Sputino, something like that is the name of
Hmm.
the restaurant. They had a cacio e pepe mashed potato, so like a cheesy with like pepper, salt, pepper
Hmm.
mashed potato. It was so good. And it was like, whoa, like I never even thought to combine like these things in a mashed potato. So, you know, you can be really inventive with mashed potatoes.
Okay. I'm here for the mashed potatoes. Hmm. All right. Do you have any race superstitions?
Oh my gosh, yes. I am a very superstitious person.
Okay, go.
Um, I guess they're not super fun, but like, um, I don't know how much I can share too, but the first one, to be completely honest, concerns bowel movements. And I always say poops of 3 is the best day. Oh my God, I can't believe
No,
I'm saying that out loud.
it's okay because so that's what we do as triathletes. Like you gotta do that. You gotta release. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm with you on the 3. Like if it ain't 3, it's a wrap. So know your release amount. That's how we're put it that way.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, if I That's I would say my top superstition.
Okay. Sometimes I wonder if people question my hygiene because I tell you, when I have Maria and Sarah on, we've had some serious conversations, and I promise when you really get engaged in this multi-sport life, some things that you used to think so highly about get thrown out the door.
Oh yeah.
Because you're shaking your head, give me one of them that you
Well,
thought so highly about, like taking showers every day, or not every day, but after every workout. I'm talking too much. Anyway, tell me what yours.
well, I guess it would honestly be like normalizing talk about movements and, like when you're around, when you're training with people and you're training in the same sport, just certain things just don't become taboo. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't really talk about this kind of stuff at work or anything like that, but like with my group of friends, it's something that it's a very real thing. So yeah, lots of potty talk.
Potty talk, carrying wipes in your bags, because, sometimes life happens. You have to go from one sport to the other. Have you ever used Clorox wipes to make sure you wiped?
Oh, no, I haven't used that.
Mm, I haven't, but I know someone who has. But
Oh,
anyway, let's keep
wow.
it. They said it works. Let's keep it moving. Um, what would you tell your 13-year-old self?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would tell my 13-year-old self to not box yourself into one form of identity, that there are different ways that you can express who you are in all of its different dimensions. So for more context with that, I thought, like in high school that there were, the really smart people, and then there were like the athletic people, and then like all these little cliques, and you kind of had to self-identify. And I don't know if that's just a relic from like my time in school, because I've talked to people that are younger and they're like, yeah, like, I was athletic, but I was also like an art student. And I'm like, what, really? Like, you could mix and match like that? Like, that's awesome. So, so knowing that, it's okay to mix and match. You don't have to pigeonhole yourself into one identity.
All right, 13-year-old Maria, you hear that? Yeah. Favorite? What's your favorite music artist?
That's good. That's a good question.
And I haven't
Um,
asked that one in a while.
my favorite music artist. I guess I've been really listening to Luis Miguel a lot.
Okay.
uh, which is just like ballads. Like I feel like such an old woman. I feel like that's like the music my mom would listen to, but like there's something really nostalgic about that. I don't know. And then like Bad Bunny. Like it's just so
Hey, I mean, who can't listen to Bad Bunny? He has really great. His beats are. I'm a Bad Bunny fan. Okay, okay. So, what's your favorite song that gets you motivated when you don't want to work out, but you put this song on and you're like, all right, I'm ready.
oh man. There's there's a couple of them. I don't know why my Spanish speaking brain is like activated right now, but I the Gypsy Kings, like
Okay.
uh, like flamenco, for whatever reason. There's also this other artist, Colombian artist, Carlos Vives. I was just telling a teammate last week that I'd been listening to like vallenato type music. It's just really cheery. Like there's an accordion. It's just really danceable. Like it's just a lot of fun. I think a lot of his music was featured in that Disney movie Encanto, actually.
Encanto. Mm.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And I can't let you leave here without answering this question. Do you pee on the bike or take a that? Do you pee on the bike or take a proper pee break?
So, that Maryland, 2021, I was trying my hardest to pee on the bike. I really, really had to go. And I was like, 1, 2, 3, go. And nothing would happen. I had such bad stage fright. And I was so mad at myself because I'm like, what is happening? Like, clearly I have to pee my pants. This is the time to pee your pants. It's okay to pee your pants. And I ended up having to go to the porta potty, and I was like wrestling like my wet tri suit to take it off. You must have, like, the volunteers at Maryland must have thought I was wrestling a bear in the
Porta potty.
Porta potty. It's making all sorts of sounds trying to get it off. And but yeah, so yeah, I would like to pee on the bike. It's something I aspire to do, but no such luck.
Well, as long as you aspire to pee on the bike and you can't get in trouble as a child for peeing in your pants, as you say, I never thought about it as like peeing in your pants, because when you were little. Okay, it's too much. Thank you so much, Maria. I'm glad that you have those aspirations to join the Pee on the Bike Club. But with that said, this episode has been full of just great, just wisdom and stories, because whenever you try beginners, like, you always win. And it gives you an opportunity to have a story that you can then tell to even me. So with that said, if you want to be on Try Beginners Luck and share your story, slide into our DMs or send us an email at tblpodbiz@trybeginnersluck.com. Well, that's it for me. I'm Mashonda, and we're out. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. We need your help so we can continue to try at TBL. So for more information on where you can find and subscribe to this podcast, visit www.trybeginnersluck.com. And don't forget, whenever you try Beginner's Luck, you always win.